Today's review is brought to you by Snakes. Your kids won't get up for school? Throw one of these in their beds. Warning, don't do this if they live on the second floor.
Watch it, Alan, I'm shooting.
Man from Deep River. Italian cannibal movies. If you're looking for blood, gore, nudity, brutality, torture, and some of the most intense scenes of violence ever put on film, this is the genre for you. When you hear the words Italian cannibal flick, the first movie that comes to mind is Ruggero Deodato's Cannibal Holocaust. That movie has grown in infamy over the years. It's become so notorious that even people who are not big into Italian horror movies have heard of it. As big a fan as I am of Cannibal Holocaust, there were plenty of other cannibal flicks that came out before that movie. Hell, it wasn't even Ruggero Deodato's first cannibal flick. That was Jungle Holocaust, aka Last Cannibal World. Enter Umberto Lenzi. This was the man who gave us Cannibal Ferox, which was the unofficial sequel to Cannibal Holocaust. But before that, he gave us Man from Deep River. This was the movie that started the cannibal craze in Italy.
Ah! No! You murderers! Murderers!
Without Umberto Lenzi, we would never have Cannibal Holocaust, Mountain of the Cannibal God, or Cannibal Apocalypse. Man from Deep River stars Ivan Rassimov. He was a big name in Italian exploitation, starring in everything from spaghetti westerns to giallo to Eurocrime. Here he plays a photographer named John Bradley. While visiting Thailand, he decides to take a boat down the river into Burma. His trip goes sideways when he's kidnapped by a primitive tribe. He's put through many trials of torment, but he eventually earns the respect of the tribe when he fights for his life in an attempt to escape. Soon he's accepted as a member of the tribe, and he falls in love with the chief's daughter. Man from Deep River has all the elements you expect in a cannibal flick, which makes sense because this is the movie that started the trend. There's violence, torture, some mild cannibalism, and a lot of breasts. Unfortunately, there is on-screen animal violence, which is sadly a staple of these movies. I'll say what I said before. I do not defend the on-screen animal killings, and I understand why people would not like these movies because of that. But there's nothing I can do about it now. These movies came out a long time ago. All we can do is learn from the past so we don't make the same mistakes in the future. That being said, let's talk about dirty pillows.
They're called breasts, and every woman has them.
Well, excuse me. Italian exploitation movies are known for having a fair amount of nudity. Cannibal movies have more nudity than others. Man from Deep River has a lot of tits. The only cannibal movie that might rival this one is Emmanuel and the Last Cannibals.
What knockers!
Oh, thank you, Doctor.
Oh, that's all right.
This is one of those heavy-on-the-tits movies, especially when it comes to the chief's daughter, played by Mei Lei. She had a prominent role in the cannibal genre, starring in both Eaten Alive and Jungle Holocaust. There are many scenes when we can see her traffic stoppers, and there are plenty of women who get naked throughout the film. This is done simply to arouse the audience, but it makes sense. There are many primitive tribes where nudity is more accepted. There are tribes in real life where having your breasts or nads exposed is more acceptable. Clothing is not a priority when survival is the main focus. As much as this is an exploitation film and the tits are just there to get us going, there is a scene where they use the nudity in an interesting way. It's time for the chief's daughter Mariah, no not that one, to pick a suitor. This is done by her stripping down, blindfolding herself, and sitting in a hut. Then the men who are considered the strongest in the village go up to this hole in the hut, reach through and fondle her tits. Then I guess she picks her man by how good their hands feel. I don't know. So all the men reach into the hole and start feeling her up, but then it's John's turn. He reaches into the hole, but instead of groping her, he gently slides his hand down her arm and holds her hand. John and Mariah had a bit of a liking for each other before this, but this was a nice touch. He likes her, not just her tits. I don't know if this was intentional, I don't think it was, but it's a nice lesson. If you want a woman to like you, go for their hand before you go for their knockers.
Now you're even more beautiful.
A common factor in Italian filmmaking during the 60s through the 80s is making movies that were like other movies. That's how it was. If you went to a production company with your film idea, they would ask you what movie is your movie like. Man from Deep River was inspired by A Man Called Horse from 1970.
I'm not a horse! I'm not an animal! I am a man! I'm going to get out of here and you're going to help me.
Look how similar the plots are. Man from Deep River. A man is captured by a primitive tribe and is eventually accepted as a member of that tribe. A Man Called Horse. A man is captured by a Native American tribe and is eventually accepted as a member of that tribe. Man from Deep River is an example of how Italian filmmakers were able to work with this stipulation of making movies that were like other movies, and still managing to make these movies their own. Even though this movie did start the Italian cannibal genre, it's not much of a cannibal film. There is cannibalism in this movie, but it's only a small amount, and it's closer to the end of the film. Man from Deep River is more of a jungle adventure romance. It focuses more on John being accepted into this tribe and his growing relationship with Mariah.
See if you remember. Huh?
London.
Huh?
Woman.
That's right.
Man.
Good.
People going into this movie, not only because it's a cannibal flick, but because it's the movie that started the cannibal genre, might be disappointed that it doesn't have the same level of violence or flesh-eating that we expect in cannibal movies. But the fact that it's not your typical cannibal flick helps it stand out in the genre. If you go in knowing that this is a different film, you'll have a good time. It's still an exploitation movie, though, so you will get violence and sex. I can't say that Man from Deep River is my favorite cannibal movie. There are still some that I hold above it, but it's still a solid movie that's worth your time, especially if you want to see the birth of a fucked up genre that we all love so much. But, even though Umberto Lenzi is known for cannibal movies and horror, the genre I think he excels at is Eurocrime. We'll get into that next time, but until then, let's get to the Grindhouse rankings. We've got a body count of about 15. The kills consist of, but are not limited to, stabbings, arrows to the neck, and strangulation. It reaches the cannibal flick requirements with cannibalism, obviously, jungle setting, tribal torments, and nudity. Speaking of nudity, it's high. There are so many breast assists, also a fair amount of butts and bush. There is some full frontal male nudity, but it's from a distance. Even though this started the cannibal genre, it's not your traditional cannibal flick. There isn't much cannibalism, but we still get some good flesh eating. There are some unnecessary animal killings, so be ready for that. I like the relationship between John and Mariah. It helps you get attached to these characters. I'm giving this a 3.9 out of 5. It's well worth a watch, especially if you're interested in Italian cannibal flicks. As always, I want to thank all of you for watching and supporting my channel. If you're new here, please subscribe and give this video a thumbs up if you like what I do here, or give it a thumbs down if you don't like what I do here. Leave a comment down below. Let me know your favorite jungle adventure movie. This is the Maniac, here to remind you that the Grindhouse will never die. Finger food.